on the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Varsity House BirdFeed on the Ball State Gainbridge Network. Here is your host, Joel Godette.
All right, welcome back into another edition of the BirdFeed Live, presented by Varsity House. We are back here in our illustrious podcast studio, also known as the corner of my office. Joel Godette, and that is Donan Cruz, the Ball State first-year men's volleyball coach, now officially 3 matches in to the 2022 season. Sir, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. We're excited and off to a good start, as you said.
We have thrown you in the deep end of the pool here. You are 3 matches in, and well, I have mail, if you could hear that. We are 3 matches in, and your 4th and 5th matches are against the number 1 team in the country in your own building. So what's this week like for you guys?
You know, we obviously really happy about our results on Friday against George Mason. That was a great team, and I thought a really good transition into what we have this week. And, you know, the conversation with the team this morning was really about, you know, no different in preparation. You know, we got to be a team that is focused on our side of the net first and just making sure we're not missing the major details of what Hawaii we expect they're going to do and probably are known for doing. But, yeah, it's going to be great. I think the idea of getting University of Hawaii here to Muncie and to the Ball State campus is exciting, obviously, for everyone that is a volleyball fan, just because this is a big name brand and a defending champion. So for us to be able to expose what that level looks like to our volleyball community is a good thing.
Let's talk about where you guys are at this season, though, because yes, Hawaii is the number 1 team, but through 3 matches, you guys have had a really good start. And I think this past weekend was really telling because you faced a George Mason team that competes very well, won 15 matches last year in their conference out east, and you did really well. Mm-hmm. Now, they were coming off of a 5-set match the night before, which certainly helps, but you still hit almost 460. You held them under 100. What did you learn that maybe you didn't know about your guys from that matchup?
You know, I think really it was more about reinforcing the things that we've been working on. You know, attack efficiency and our ability to serve aggressively. I think we might have, I might be misspeaking here, but maybe 30 aces on 28 errors on 9 games.
You guys are first in the country in aces, yeah.
Awesome. You know, for us, it's just about what reinforcing we're doing in training and how that has translated. And you're right, George Mason, you know, I think in set 2, maybe they scored 18, but, you know, we just really did a good job of executing the game plan, and a lot of that was focusing on our side of the net. The attack efficiency is probably in our daily conversation about managing errors. So for us, that's a big piece. And play George Mason, Jay Hossack, who's one of the, you know, a very well-respected coach, he knows how to prepare a team. And for us to have done that well really says a lot about how the guys are buying into the things we're training and their preparedness for matches.
Talked about the aces. You guys are number 1 in the country in that statistical category. You guys are number 2 in assists per set, so a lot of kills, but good work there by Quinn Isaacson. You guys are number 1 in the country at this point through 3 matches in hitting percentage. Part of that, first couple of matches, different type of opponent, but you carried it over when you took on George Mason, and obviously it'll tick up a level when you guys take on Hawaii this weekend as well. But when you look at it, what has led to the offense being as clean an operation as it has been early?
There's a lot of emphasis on making sure that in practice, you know, we really try to understand what are good situations and what are situations that we should be trying to manage the ball. And a lot of hitting percentage, obviously, is about how you reduce errors and not force them. And I think this is a team that has come a long way since, you know, we hit the gym in September of last year. And a lot of the guys, too, if you look at how they hit the ball in previous years for the guys that are on the court, it took a lot of effort for them on kind of the mindset side of how they perceive offense. And I think that's a big piece. And, you know, we work on it a lot and we practice that a lot. So seeing that is good. And we also spoke about Maryville and Tusculum, you know, in those matches, we hit really well against a team that, you know, obviously has some growth to do on the defensive side, but you still can make errors against, you know, you hit in the net, you hit out. I mean, those are categories that impact that hit percentage. So for us to just know that we could manage and play a team like George Mason to the same degree was a great like what you said, a great indication of going into this match against Hawaii.
I know last year, Joe Walton was extremely high heading into the season on what Agalos Mendeleris was going to bring to this team as an opposite hitter. We never got to see that.
Yeah.
But we heard many times, like, oh, if Aggie was healthy, just imagine what this offense would look like. So we come into this season, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're going to get to see Mendeleris. And then the first 2 matches of the season, we're unable to see Mendeleris. Finally, though, match 3, Agalos Mendeleris cleared to participate. He goes for 16 kills, 2 errors, hits .538.
Yep.
If you get an opposite that's going to hit .538 for the entire season, we're going to talk about some history.
Yeah.
So maybe not to that level, but if you can get him up to a level close to that,
yeah.
I think some Ball State fans saw a glimpse of something that's going to be really special this spring.
Yeah. Agalos is a special player, and I think one of the probably his greatest attribute is the calm that he brings to the court. You know, when you have an opposite that is as terminal as he is and understands how to score in some difficult situations, it keeps the game moving, you know, and I think those 16 kills, if we go back and watch them when they came, were critical times, you know, like if you don't side out, you kind of put more pressure on yourself, and he does such a good job of bringing a calm presence to the court. You know, he's not too hot, not too cold, and that's his experience and what he's brought to the group. And yeah, all last year, I mean, I used to ask him, like when I first started, what he would do last year, and he kind of pointed at a chair in Worthen where he would sit, and he just stretch and sit down, you know, didn't do anything. So now to see him back, really happy for him to have the opportunity to play, but more excited that he's in a Ball State jersey.
I like his personality too, because like it sounds stereotypical, but like if you go watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the movie, like hey, there's some very stereotypical things in there, and the oppa and all that. But legitimately, like he had a kill on Friday night, and he turns around to the huddle, and he goes oppa.
Exactly.
And I was like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like it's the culture that he brings is really cool.
Yeah, and you know the guys, you know, will try to mimic some of the things he says, and yeah, you know that's the unique part about being in a team sport and having a player from a different country is. It really does kind of bring a different type of flavor to the group, and I think the guys embrace and love him. He's one of our captains, so between him, David Flores, and Quinn Isaacson, our 3 captains, he's earned the right to be able to be in that position and be a leader on the team. So energy, charisma, volleyball, I mean, he really is the real deal and the full package in terms of what coaches expect out of him, and he can manage that workload. He has no problem with being a guy that we turn to for some answers.
I want to come back. I have one more question on Agalos, but before I do that, you mentioned 3 captains. Mm-hmm. Quinn Isaacson, Agalos Mendeleris, 2 of your most important players. Mm-hmm. David Flores is your backup setter. Mm-hmm. There are not many teams where the backup setter is a captain.
Yeah.
What does that say about his critical role and the way that his teammates view him?
You know, he just has such a good way of going about his business. You know, he's not the loudest guy. As a matter of fact, I would put him probably on the side of, you know, we need to get him to be more vocal, but he leads by example, does a great job in the classroom, and he connects with the team very well. You know, we don't need to be, I'm probably a good example of that, is you don't need to be a big voice and a loud, you know, personality to get your point across and convey a message, and Dave does that really well. And he just has really good relationships with the guys, and, you know, sometimes out of your captains, having someone in that kind of role is about being able to understand what the group is thinking, and captains do a good job of that, and that's why he's one of our guys.
That is Donan Cruz, the Ball State men's volleyball coach. This is the BirdFeed Live, as always presented by Varsity House. We are streaming live on Facebook. You can always find us archived on YouTube, on the Chirpcast podcast feed, and also across the state of Indiana on the ISC Sports Network as well. Let's go back to Agalos real quick. What is his ceiling? Like, what can he be for you guys this season?
I thought, you know, like you said, Friday was a good glimpse of that. And, you know, in terms of volleyball, when you have a right side as efficient as he is, it just opens up the floor for a lot of other guys, and it gives Quinn an opportunity to be able to find other guys in transition. And, you know, an outside, especially like if we're looking at Hawaii, when you have an outside on the other side that does a good job of helping the center of the court. A player like Agalos really kind of takes his attention, and can open up some one-on-one blocks. And based on his history of what he's played too, he's sustained that level of volleyball throughout a course of a season.
He's an All-American.
Yeah. That's where when you're early on, you don't want to be kind of like that early ripe, early rotten mentality. And for Agalos, he's shown that he can sustain a good level of volleyball. So it's just a matter of making sure he stays healthy, and to be able to have that force is, if you're an outsider or middle, you're excited to have him on your team because, teams got to respect that side of the court, and that's what he does for us.
Let's talk about the outside real quick, because everyone knows Caleb Jennis. He's one of the better hitters in this conference, if not in the country. But that 0-2 position has been really flexible over the last couple of years. Nick Martinsky's looked really good, though. What has the guy that Steve Shondell affectionately has dubbed the Tin Man? What has the Tin Man done through 3 matches that has really impressed you?
Really his ability to pass has been what has been the primary conversation in training, and between him, Bryce, probably are the 2 guys that are in the closest position to that 0-2. That's really what we've made it about, is who's passing the ball a little bit more efficiently, and then Tink, Nick Martinsky, call him Tink, does a really good job of taking up a lot of space. Very physical player. He's long. He has history of playing as a middle on a right side, so he reads blocks and sets up blocks really well. I thought you saw that against Mason. He had maybe, 8 blocks, something like that.
Yeah, he had 8 blocks.
He really understands how to protect the net really well, and then be able to be available in transition. And that length, especially when we get to the bigger teams like BYU and Hawaii, is, those guys play at a really high level, and they contact the ball really high, and we think Tink puts up some big hands in front of that and makes it a little bit more challenging for people to score points on us. So, and same thing, man, we talked about Dave. Like, this is a guy that Nick really works hard in his craft, and so does Bryce. So that's going to be an evolving, I think, role, is how those 2 really compete and push each other. And there's a handful of outsides behind those 2 guys that are doing a good job in practice too. But I think Bryce and Nick have been the most consistent of all of our guys behind Caleb.
Undersold statistic, by the way, from the Mason matchup. You guys outblocked them 13.5-1. So the defense was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Felix Egarevbo was a big part of that. My favorite thing about Felix is every time he blocks something or comes up with a massive kill, but typically when he blocks something, he always reacts like he had no idea that was going to happen. Like, he's like, I don't belong here, and I'm very surprised at what I just did. But like it's the best, because he is like, it's this youthful, exuberant, oh my goodness, that was awesome. And I think the team feeds off that.
Yeah, his almost like this innocence to like how great he is.
Did you guys see what I just did?
I know, it's crazy, and like the guy's just, and Felix, who has an incredibly challenging academic schedule,
nursing major,
misses a ton of practices with the team, so more in the fall than now. But he's had to overcome some barriers, and I feel like it must be crazy to always have to be in like that catch-up mode. But his mindset in when he comes to train, he's so disciplined when he has to do his workouts where he's solo or get in and get reps on his own. And kudos to him for being able to manage all that and then still perform at the level he is, and then have the kind of fun and spunk that he brings to the court. It's a lot of fun, because you would almost assume that someone that is that segmented in their schedule, you might be skipping some beats with the team, and I think he's very mindful of his presence. And I love how he is just so like free-spirited in the sense of how he approaches his volleyball, that sometimes we got to kind of rein that in, and then other times it's what the team needs.
Let's talk about the excitement of this week now. Hawaii comes in, number 1 team in the country. You get them Saturday night and Monday night. Both those matches are at 7 o'clock. They'll both be streamed on ESPN+. Really excited, looking forward to those. I thought to myself, I was like, when's the last time the number one team in the country has played inside Worthen Arena? I was disappointed to find out it was 5 years ago. So I was hoping for like a 1984.
Yeah.
But Ohio State, when they won the national championship, and Loyola and Lewis, when they were national championship teams,
Yeah.
obvious answer, number one team in the country when they came here. But the last time a non-MIVA number one team in the country came here was when UC Irvine was number one back in 2014. So it's cool that you got a West Coast team to come travel here. Mm-hmm. My first question is, how did that come to be? How did the conversation unfold of, hey, Hawaii, come all the way inland because this would be a really fun matchup here in the heart of volleyball country?
You know, in maybe June or July, I was working at a USA Volleyball event and had the opportunity to cross paths with Charlie Wade and Josh Walker, one of their assistants. And, you know, just kind of naturally how you would have a conversation about scheduling, amongst other things. It popped up, and I think Hawaii was kind of set to come back to the Midwest already. So I think everything just kind of fell into place. But, you know, that's a connection that we want to kind of keep building on, and you know, we're in conversation of us already planning on being out in Hawaii in 2023. So
is that for the outrigger or just
I think we'll go for a head-to-head in
Nice.
January. Yeah,
Nice.
that's kind of the initial conversation. But for me, as the head coach, the goal is we should be doing this often in every season, and to be able to get the UCLAs, the BYUs, the Hawaiis, and basically anybody on the West Coast and Penn State. I mean, those are teams we want to be up against, and yeah, for us to be able to have worked it out and it kind of just things fell into place is going to be really fun. And then obviously with where I was, my upbringing, to be able to play Hawaii is also pretty special to me, and I'm sure for the other two guys that are on the roster from Hawaii too. So it'll be good, and I think fans are going to have a lot of fun this weekend.
I was going to say, as a kid who grew up in Hawaii, there's got to be a neat, like, youthful exuberance for you. And like, I don't know how old the Stan Sheriff Center is, but like, as a kid, do you remember, like, did you go to matches there, or what are your earliest recollections of Rainbow Warrior volleyball?
You know, watching it on Channel 5, you know, it's a big deal. Like, Hawaii's volleyball team has always been really strong, both men and women, and the sport of volleyball in the state of Hawaii is, you know, yeah, I can't say enough about the love for the sport there. So, you know, you turn the TV on and you're watching these guys play, and I've only watched them play in Stan Sheriff. Before, they used to play in a kind of a second gym, and that was kind of back in the day. But yeah, Stan Sheriff and watching them play, and then, you know, get into some games. And then when I went to school on Oahu, being able to go and watch a bunch of games there too was pretty cool and pretty neat. And they do a good job there too of you know, getting their fan base involved. So I think we're going to have a lot of people tuning in, watching this match, that are tuning in from the 808 too. So be good.
I feel like I have to live up to Kanoa Leahy here if I'm gonna broadcast. I'm like, I don't know about that guy.
He's pretty good. He's pretty solid.
He's okay, but he's not Kanoa. I'm like, I'm trying, folks. What are you guys up against? They're obviously the number one team in the country. They're the defending national champions. They did lose a lot in terms of their hitters. Mm-hmm. Their first and second touches, though, are back from last year. And I think the thing that Charlie said that was most indicative of a healthy program was he was asked preseason, how do you replace all of the kills that graduate? And he said, well, like, we got guys.
Yeah.
Like, they've been in the program. I know who they are. You don't. But
Yeah.
I think we're going to be okay. So when you watch film, what jumps out to you about how good they are and how you approach it?
You know, I think it's more, maybe less about exactly our game plan of how we're going to play Hawaii, more than it is the mindset of our team going into it. And, you know, the one thing we wanted to start, we just got out of practice, you know, less than an hour ago, is making sure that we understand that this is just a match, right? Like, we don't got to put more weight to it than we need to, and we could play to that level of volleyball if we kind of do the things that we need to take care of. But Hawaii, you know, they're deep. They have guys that are playing that were on the bench in last year, and that's what good programs do. And they expect to win, and they expect a high level of performance out of their athletes. And I think that's what separates the top programs, is not only the fact that they have these special athletes, but it's how they approach winning and how they approach preparation, and we want to get our guys to think in that same wavelength, and I think so far we've done a good job of that. Their setter is really aggressive off the service line. Against Loyola, he created some serious problems where, you know, they were burning early timeouts and maybe going on like 6-7 point runs with him on the floor.
And this is like halfway tongue-in-cheek, but also like ignorant to the answer. Norway big for men's volleyball? Like to go get him out of there, best setter probably in the country. Is that a fertile recruiting ground?
You know, they have some guys there. I think there's good volleyball all over. You know, some recruiting demographics in Europe and South America, but he's definitely a special talent. And, you know, what makes him a threat, too, is he's a lefty and can turn and hit on two. So the good news is we got a couple lefties in our gym, too, and see that every day as well. So the movement of that ball, we're feeling pretty comfortable. Dyer does a good job of serving with heavy pace. We use them as a serve sub against Mason. But, yeah, you know, they're physical. Their middles are pretty big, but they're just playing sound volleyball, you know, and that's, I think, where they create separation with other teams is they don't make very many errors, so they don't give you an opportunity to pounce on them, and if they do, you got to take advantage of that. But the message today was we got to keep with the game, don't allow them to go on big runs, and don't put too much weight on the idea of they're the defending champs and the #1 team. Like, they're 4 games in, we're 3 games in, and I think if we can kind of have that confidence of we're going to be able to come in and do our thing, then I think our guys are going to perform at a good level.
By the way, you mentioned Dyer Ball. One of the best heckles I've ever heard is somebody just yelled, "Where's your dad?" on Friday night, and I was like, he's right up there.
He was behind the bench, hiding a little bit, but yeah, Dyer he's the man. He's a funny guy, and someone that as a coaching staff love to have, because he knows how to lighten the mood and get the energy going. But what he did on Friday was pretty special, to be able to come in cold off the bench. And, you know, we subbed him maybe for Will on one or a couple balls, actually. And to be able to come in and give us some service pressure when we thought we could use it was pretty nice. And we'll kind of look to see if that continues to be him or another arm that we bring on. But yeah, Dyer's awesome and great to have on the team.
Has this been 3 matches in, everything you thought it would be?
Yeah, and maybe even more. You know, for me, it's special how the volleyball community shows up and the student body, and a lot of people that work here coming to games. And, you know, for me, it's excited to see what we're going to do as we keep progressing, but we'll go a match at a time and focus on Hawaii and see what's after that.
Full transparency, we're going to clip this. So we'll end this show, elevator pitch, Saturday night, Monday night, pitch to America, pitch to Muncie for folks to come out and check out Ball State in Hawaii.
We want to see you guys at the game. You know, I think if you're looking for some fun and exciting activity here in Muncie, or you want to tune into a really good game, Saturday night, Hawaii and Ball State, it's going to be a great match, and we look forward to being a great host to Hawaii, but looking for a big win.
Awesome. Donan, looking forward to it. I'm psyched. I'm fired up.
Thanks, man.
Part of a big doubleheader. Men's basketball is also home on Saturday. So 888 BSU ticket, ballstatesports.com for tickets to that game, tickets to the men's volleyball game. We've got a packed week, and it leads up to a really packed, exciting weekend. Donan, best of luck in preparation for it, and I will see you Saturday night.
Appreciate it.
All right, that is Donan Cruz joining us here on the BirdFeed Live, as always presented by Varsity House on the ISC Sports Network on Facebook Live and on YouTube. We'll be back here next Monday. James Whitford will be with us. We'll talk some Ball State men's basketball. Until then, so long here in Muncie.
This was the Varsity House Bird Feed on the Ball State Gamebridge Network.